Hey, welcome to episode number 52 on this channel. That means that for the last year, every week on Wednesday, on this channel, we have dropped one video about something related to branding, writing a book, building an online business, digital marketing, digital real estate building, whatever it is that the video's been about. I've been consistent for a year. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you a few things I've learned, a few mindset shifts that I've made, and some stuff I wish I would have known a year ago that might have made this journey a little bit easier for me. If you are new here, hi, my name is Andrea, and I'm glad to have you here. If you're returning, I'm glad to have you back. As I just said, every week for a year, we have dropped a video on this channel. And let me just start this by saying it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely been more fun than work, and I've learned a few things in the last year. The first thing that I've learned is that when I started a year ago, I was thinking to myself, you know what, if I just do one video per week for a year, I'll be really glad I did it and my business will be in a very different place. Now, that is true. My business is in a very different place today than it was a year ago. However, it doesn't look like I thought it was gonna look. And my mindset around the weekly video has changed a whole ton. And one of the biggest mindset shifts that changed is not only do I not have to be perfect in the videos, but also one of the biggest mindset shifts I changed is that I heard Dan Martell say when he started his YouTube channel, he was thinking it from 10 years. Like, if you're gonna start something, are you willing to do it for 10 years? Are you passionate about enough about it to do it for 10 years? And now that I'm a year into this, I would say that was a pretty big mindset shift for me to think, okay, maybe it's gonna take more than a year to get the results I want, and am I still willing to do it? So if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel or a podcast or a blog or writing on Substack or whatever it might be, I would ask you this question: are you willing to do it for a year, and are you willing to do it for 10 years, no matter what it takes? Here's the next thing I've learned in the last year. It was way more figuring out than I thought it was going to be. I was pretty sure that it was gonna be just like, oh, no problem, we're gonna stick the video camera in front of me and I'm gonna like film a weekly episode and it's gonna be super simple and like no problem. I'm gonna have this figured out in 12 episodes. Well, it was way more work than that, and it took a lot more fooling around and figuring it out than I thought I was gonna be. And it turns out I have a lot less patience than I thought I had. Even though I know I don't have that much patience, I really realized how much patience I don't have through this process. And I would say that if you're starting a channel, just keep in mind that be patient with yourself. You're gonna have some episodes you love, you're gonna have some episodes you don't love, and either way, just stick consistent and put it out and know that no matter what, consistency trumps perfection. All right, here's another thing I learned. I watched a lot of videos about other people's processes and what worked for them and how they create content and how they go through making videos. And I watched a lot of other people's videos about like the cadence to their video and what they were doing. And it seemed like no matter what I tried and whose method I tried, at the end of the day, I had to figure out what was gonna work for me. And ultimately, what I figured out in my process is a version of a little bit from one person and a little bit from someone else and a little bit from someone else, and really I've gotten comfortable with what works for Andrea. And to that note, I would say if you're thinking about starting something creative, again, YouTube channel, podcast, whatever it might be, remember that while you can borrow from other people's processes, you are probably going to have to figure out what works for you, what works for your team, what works for your energy, and just make sure that you're willing to, again, fool around and figure it out and find a process that works for you, that lights you up and makes you want to keep coming back for 10 years. Which brings me to my next point, which is be as patient as you possibly can while you are finding your groove. There are so many little nitpicky things you're gonna have to figure out if you're running a YouTube channel or a podcast or even just writing. There's so many little nitpicky things that you have to figure out in every episode, every article, everything you do. The next one is a little bit better than the one before. And so really being patient to find your groove is something that I wish I had understood a little bit more at the beginning. I'm actually really grateful. I went for a coffee with a girlfriend of mine who runs a really big YouTube channel, and I think I was maybe into like episode 10, and she said to me, don't worry, you'll find your groove, just stay really chill with it, eventually you'll find your groove. And every time I would run up against something that felt like resistance, or I wanted to quit, or I was like, this is driving me bananas, I would just think about what she said, and I was like, just find your groove, just wait and see, you'll find your groove, you'll find your way. So I would really recommend that you are as patient as you possibly can be, and just give yourself some time to find your groove. Okay, now let's talk about equipment, because that was something that I wasn't really sure where I was starting with a year ago and what we have now. And here's what I would say about this. You do not need all the perfect fancy equipment to get started. In fact, where I'm filming today, I still have a light that's pretty janky. It's got like some, I don't know, duct tape, electrical tape on it, and it's not so not perfect by any means. So keep in mind, you don't need all the perfect equipment. If you do have equipment that you're working with, then start with what you have and add to it as you can. One of the biggest pieces of equipment that I found that made my life a whole lot easier was a teleprompter. I think it was around $200. We can put the link in the comments below, but the teleprompter made a huge difference for me because because then I could plan my scripts, plan what I was gonna say, and at least I had somewhere to look right into the camera and sort of have a direction of where I was headed. I don't script everything, but I do have a direction on the screen so that I know where I'm headed when I'm talking, and it's made a huge difference for me. I watched someone else's video that said they had a teleprompter, and I'm like, I'll try it and see if it works. Something I've been super happy about. The other piece of equipment that I think is really important that doesn't have to cost a lot of money is a microphone that does a really good job of capturing the sound, because ultimately what's interesting is that we as humans hear before we see. So the sound actually matters more than the visuals. And so it's really important that you have some sort of a microphone that gives quality sound to your audience. And one of the pieces of feedback I had from one of my clients now who had watched my videos, and she actually hired us because she watched all of our, like a bunch of my videos. She said to me, she found the music on the first videos too loud, and then we've adjusted that since. And she's like, oh, the newer videos are much more pleasant to watch because the music isn't so loud compared to your voice. So it's absolutely worth getting a good microphone, playing around with your sound and finding what works, and being patient with equipment. Just add to it as you need. You really can film your whole everything you want to film on an iPhone. You don't need a fancy camera, but whatever that is, just be patient with your equipment. You don't need everything that's perfect, and work with what you have. Okay, so here's something that really surprised me about my YouTube channel in the last year, and that is that people are watching you and you have no clue who they are. It was actually a little surprising to me. Now, I realize I'm probably saying something that sounds kind of stupid, but the truth is, I don't know that I had really given thought to how many people would watch my videos that I have no clue who they are. I have met people in the last year who have watched videos and reached out to me, and we've gotten to know each other, and I didn't know them a year ago. And so it's a pretty cool way to get to know people, where they can get to know you in a cool way. And then once you have a back and forth conversation with them, it's really a nice way to speed up connection in a relationship. So there's gonna be people watching you that you have no clue who they are. They might be listening to you if you're a podcast, reading you obviously if you've got some sort of a blog, but keep in mind that there's people who'll be watching you and seeing what's going on, and right now you have no clue who they are, but in the future they might be really good friends. The other thing that I've learned about that particular dynamic is that there's people that are watching you to see what you will do and how long you will stick with it. What I found around month 9 is that there was a lot of people who had been watching me long enough that they started reaching out to me and asking me to come on their podcast, come and speak to their mastermind groups, come and, collaborate with them on a project, or they were saying, hey, we're looking for somebody to come in and talk about branding. Would you be willing to do that? Or I have a group of authors and I'd love you to come and talk to them about their book. All of that came from me being consistent over time, and it didn't happen right away. As you, if you watch this channel, have probably heard me say, you have to be patient and give people time. You've got to do activities that nurture people and, just keep showing up. Your job is to keep showing up, and then their job is to reach out when they're ready. So keep in mind, there's people watching you even if you don't know they're watching you. One of the coolest things that I had happen was fairly early, like I hadn't been doing very many episodes. I was maybe on like episode 10, and I was at my mom's birthday party, and one of my friends who I grew up with said to me, oh, I really like your episodes and I watch to see when they come out every week, and it's just really cool. I feel like I have a visual into your life and what you do now, and I understand what you do for work better. So people are watching you, you have no clue who they are, and people you do know are watching you, and that's equally cool. All right, here's another big one that I talk to my clients about all the time, and I've had to learn on my own, which is that the size of your audience is kind of irrelevant. So don't get too caught up in like how many followers you have or how big is your audience. Keep perspective. Let's say you have just 50 people who watched a video. It doesn't look like a lot, right? Like when you see views on a video, you're like, man, 50 people watched it. But think about if you were in a room with 50 people. If you were in a room with 50 people who gave you their undivided attention for 10 minutes, that's a pretty big gift. So you don't really need a lot of followers to build a successful business. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands of millions of followers. Even with a small audience, you can build a really successful business. So really keep perspective on the size of your audience. There's kind of a funny meme that was running around on Instagram around a while ago that said something like, is 4 a lot of followers? And the answer was, on Instagram, no. In an alley, probably. Like you really want to keep perspective on the size of your audience. You don't need a giant audience to build a big business. So just remember to run your own race and don't get too caught up in the metrics and the size and the who knows what and all that kind of stuff. Just pay attention to what matters to your business. Okay, and here's the last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to wrap with this. The hardest thing for me to do at the beginning of this YouTube journey was just say my name. Just saying, hi, my name is Andrea Reindl. I would have to say it like 10 or 15 times before I was comfortable saying it. We laughed so hard. Angie and I were like, every time I go to say it and I would trip over my tongue and I couldn't say my name. I actually practiced saying my name while I was putting my makeup on or doing dishes or whatever I was doing. I'm like, why is it so hard to say my name? I don't know. I don't know if this is true for everyone, but I will say it was one one of the things that I had the hardest time with. I still do sometimes, but just saying, hi, my name is Andrea Reindl was a full mouthful for me for a while. So learning to say my name was totally unexpected. I didn't think it was going to be so hard, and I'm sure I'm not alone on this one. But if I am, oh well, maybe I'm the only person who has a hard time saying my name. Either way, if you've got something little like that when you get started, just get used to the fact that it might be uncomfortable, but just keep practicing and eventually you'll get okay at it. For the most part now, I can say my name and welcome you to my channel and not stumble over my own tongue, which is fabulous. If you are a podcaster or an author or a speaker or trainer and you're thinking about creating some sort of regular routine and content, I would highly recommend that you do it, because the consistency with connection in your audience will pay off so much in the future. Again, it's a long game, not a short game. Make sure that you can commit to it for a while and just be willing to start. You are never going to be perfect, and there's never a great time to start. Just get going and watch what happens. I hope you found this helpful. Until next time, my name is Andrea Reindl. Make it a great day.